Okay, here we go. The Pen and Mikey Show.
He's about to get crazy and wild. Stay for a while. Don't touch your radio dial.
The Pen and Mikey Show.
Kicking it back, sports talk. Listen to that and stay tuned for some giggles and laughs. Go.
Hey, I got a talk show here. I got everything.
Welcome to the Planet Mikey Show.
Well, I think we have a combined 150 years worth of broadcasting experience on today's podcast. It's going to be unbelievable. Once we actually, once you get going, everything just comes together nicely.
It's funny how that works.
It's the Planet Mikey podcast number 316, I think, Smitty.
That's correct, Mike.
Brought to you by Pro Automotive of Webster and Dudley, where they fix your cars and they fix all my cars.
Got trouble with your car, truck, or SUV?
Pro Automotive is who to see. Pro
Automotive.
And Pro Automotive FM. We were also, of course, my grandma's coffee cakes, who've been with me for years, and thus the girth. They're very, very great cakes. We'll call 1-800-8-GRANDMA if you're hungry for a coffee cake that's world class, or if you just want to talk to Grandma. We have with us today a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, look at him.
Yeah, he's a Hall of Famer. There's no. I was there.
He looks good.
I was there when he went into the Hall of Fame, so I'm hip to this. I know all about it. The Big O. I call him the GOAT. Oh, wait. No. Hold on. The GOAT.
Is that the GOAT or a GOAT?
You're a GOAT.
There's a difference, you know.
But you know what?
When
it comes to sports broadcasting in Boston, Massachusetts, and New England, you are the GOAT. I don't give a shit what any of these other guys say. You know,
that's very nice.
It's
by the way, Mikey, I've never heard anybody open up their podcast by saying episode 316. I think.
Oh,
could be 317, could be 318.
Yeah, it's
342.
Verse John 3:16, my favorite Bible passage. Big O, how are you, man? You're in Arizona.
I'm great.
You're living near Kevin McHale. You even got his shirt on your wall.
I do. I have a lot of shirts on my wall here. I've got Richard Seymour. I've got Tom Brady. I've got some guy named Larry Bird, 33.
I've heard of him.
Got Robert Parrish. I got a bunch of stuff.
Speaking of goats,
my, Arizona studio.
Robert Parrish was the greatest. You know, you take a microphone into the locker room, and you have the microphone, and you're looking for a TV soundbite, and you'd say, "So, Chief, you lost the game tonight. What happened?" And he'd say, "Well, we have to play better, both collectively and as a team." He'd give you some.
I loved him. I love him. I think. One underrated athlete, one of the all-time underrated athletes, and one of the most misunderstood. Okay. Yeah. And I know he did have the whole story with Sports Illustrated and the domestic situation with his wife. And I get all of that. And obviously that is not, it's a dark chapter, but overall, totally misunderstood. Had a unbelievably vibrant personality.
Yeah.
And yet, I think the public never really saw it.
No, good guy. And the FedEx weed, the weed coming to his house. That's all fine with me.
I didn't have a problem with that. I mean, the only problem I had is, you got to be careful how you ship that shit, right?
Well, right. I'll tell you. What you do is you put it in one of those hydraulic sealer that you use for your freezer. When you freeze food for your freezer, you seal it up nice, and then you put in some stinky things in there, like some girls' hair ribbons or something like that to throw the dogs off.
So, and I'll tell you a story though of shipping stuff, because I was a complete dope as well, like Parrish was. So when I was moving from Massachusetts out here, we had a lot of stuff stored back at our home in Massachusetts until we eventually sold it. So, as you know, I'm a wino.
You are.
Okay, I love wine and I collect wine, and I buy it when it comes out, the year it comes out, and I keep it for 20 or 30 years, and it appreciates. And I don't sell it; I drink it after 20 or 30 years.
Sure.
Because as I said, I'm a lush and a wino. So I was shipping all of this very expensive wine. And I had 4 shipments, and I put it in boxes, and I left it as we moved out of the house. I back in Boston, I put it in a friend's wine cellar, and then we had it shipped out here. 3 of the 4 boxes made it. The 4th one apparently was too heavy, and I had it all patted down. One of the wine bottles broke inside, and obviously it became all liquid and whatever.
Sure.
Well, guess what happens when you do that? you're up for federal charges because it's illegal.
Right.
It's illegal to ship wine. You can't do it. But here's where you can do it. If you're flying in an airplane, you can put an extra suitcase or a box, pay the $35 or $50 to transport that suitcase when you're flying across the country, which, boom, I should have thought of.
Sure.
But you can't ship it through UPS or postal or anything else.
No. And you at
but I found out, so this is for future reference for you, if you're ever shipping, I don't know, some funny stuff or whatever.
like hashish.
They don't really charge you with anything because there were 15 bottles of very expensive wine there.
Wow.
And so the postal people all took it home.
They were happy.
So that's how I got screwed.
Yeah, because I remember you had a wine cellar. I was at one of your functions at your house. You had you had a big wine cellar with all kinds of stuff in there.
And I had too many bottles of wine, Mike. You had 700 bottles of wine. And how can you drink 700? I mean, you can invite how many people over, and how long does it take you to drink 700?
I would have brought it to Arizona for you. I'm an Uber driver now, so you can rent me. I would have brought it down there. Nothing would have gotten broken, and I probably would have only drank 2 or 3 of the bottles on the way down there. But you didn't bother to take me up on that.
No, I'm surprised you haven't, as an Uber driver, you haven't taken your podcast and done it in the car.
From the car, yeah.
Why would you do it with these people?
Because they would
pay these people off.
They would consider it unsafe. Plus, most people don't speak Creole. And we got so many Haitians.
I know you're fluent in Creole. I know that.
Big O and I go way back, and when I say way back, and we're talking the early mid '90s. It's really been a long. You had the Big Show, and of course, I used to come on the Big Show. We had the spring training trips, which was wild, and the big dinners down there. You remember me drunk at the Super Bowl in '97 playing the spoons in the washboard in the French Quarter? Do you remember that, or were you drunk too?
I think I was drunk too, but I think you were a little bit more drunk than anybody else. Maybe not anybody else in the French Quarter, but anybody else in our party.
Man,
I do remember that
live TV from the French Quarter, and I was out of control. At the time, I haven't had a drink in nine years, Big O, or a cigarette.
You haven't?
Right. I haven't had a single drop of alcohol.
Hold on. How are you capable of doing this, Mikey?
Well, I'm going back to underwear modeling.
I'm proud of you. This is incredible.
It's unbelievable. I was at your 50th birthday party in your yard. There it was crazy with Dick Raditz and Tommy Heinsohn laughing up a storm. Those guys were pals. That was a great party you had then. I was at your wedding, drunk again with that weather girl. I had that meteorologist girl with me from Channel 5.
Oh, by the way, so your people will know here. Mikey had met her like 3 days before.
Yes.
And he invites her to my wedding.
Right.
And so Mikey always had a +1. But usually when you have a +1, you let people know like a couple weeks in advance who the +1 is.
Sure.
When I asked Mikey, who's your +1, he said, still not determined yet.
It's your TBD.
Give me a few days.
Yeah.
And he did. 3 days before that, you found this weather girl. You must have been going through TV and said, Channel 25.
No, it was 5. Channel 5, man. It was big VH1.
I want her.
VHS.
And you brought her to the wedding.
Yeah, and then I ignored her for the rest of the night because she was,
I know you embarrassed the shit out of her.
Yeah, she told me I was a -1.
Oh, man.
So what he did, Billy, is in the middle of my wedding, the band was terrific. We had like a 15-piece band, and they were good. Absolutely terrific. Next thing I know, we're taking pictures in the back room, and somebody says, "We got a problem out here." I said, "What's the problem?" Mike Adams is up on the stage taking the microphone away from the lead
singing "Baby Now That I've Found You" by the Foundations. Shit-faced. And Raditz is in the back of the room going, oh God, that was fun.
The band was a little pissed off, but it was funny. I mean, it was one of those great moments.
It was a great wedding. You always had good parties.
You never forget. It was a party. There's no question. That was a party.
And all your parties were good. That encompasses all the Weiner Line parties. The Weiner Line stuff. I'm up there with Hazel May on the stage to give it some kind of. And Hazel May, she's wearing this this blouse, and she's poking right through. You could see. And she said something about, it was one of these sports tapes we had. I said, well, I can see now, Hazel, you make a couple really good points there, because of her nipples were popping through the shirt. It was unbelievable. Whatever happened to her?
She's working now. She's got, did she go back to Toronto? But I've seen her on is it MLB Network? I've seen her. She's around.
She married some Blue Jay minor leaguer or something like that.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I figured
probably the first time she dated a professional athlete,
I'm sure there were none before him.
Yeah.
Anyway, Big O
said, you know what? I'm sick of all these broadcasters and these accountants dating these guys. I'm going
hitting on me.
Going big time.
Well, we called her during. I filled in for Meter on the Dennis and Callahan show, and she called in. We were talking about Hazel May on the air, and she called in, and I said, "Hey, Hazel, and I said, what are you doing? And she said, well, I'm sitting here in my WEEI thong. She started the conversation with that. I said, where do we go with this? And of course, Dennis Callahan liked that very much. Now you're in Arizona because
she was fun. She was fun though.
Yeah.
As a person, I thought, the problem was she was on Nesson, Mikey.
Yeah, I know.
And you can't show personality on Nesson.
No, Tom Warner won't have it.
You can't do it. But you got her away from TV, and I thought she had a great personality, and obviously she's done well for herself. She was fun. I really liked her, and I've liked all the girls that work on Nesson. The lovely ones, Catherine Tappan. They're all good people and nice people. But you're right, Nesson has an issue with anything that goes slightly veering off the beaten path, and that's why they fired me after a year. Well, everybody's fired me, Big O. Yeah.
When you think about it.
They're not the only ones that have fired you.
Julie, I like the Julie Kahn era and Jason Wolf, and and the Big Show was rolling, and that was I think it was the golden age of WEEI, and I enjoyed working there then. Who's your favorite GM and program director combination when you were at WEEI?
Oh. So now you put me on the spot here, saying something negative about somebody. As you know, I always had a love-hate relationship with program directors, as you did.
Yeah.
Because program directors always try to, reel you back in.
Yes.
And we were trying to get to the edge and go off the edge. And we were on AM radio, so it was a challenge because the audience was older. And if you said something wrong, there'd be an email sent in to the program director. But Jason was with me from the beginning. He was a producer with me at the beginning.
He loves you.
He was my assistant when I was the program director. So, and I thought he did a really good job over the years.
I do too.
I had no problem handing it over to him, and that was the original plan.
And Julie got it. She got it too. Julie
got it. Yeah.
There's no question.
I mean, she understood it. The problem was it was corporate.
Yeah.
And I hate to say it, but, David Field was a micromanager as a CEO, basically living and operating in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
But it's gotten worse in that company because George Soros is now running that operation.
I know.
So,
how did that guy work his way? 200 stations he bought, this guy?
Yeah. He bought the whole
thing,
all of Odyssey.
He's a communist sympathizer.
And everything else.
He's dangerous, but
I agree. He's dangerous.
The big transition.
Really
I didn't enjoy when the new people came on board, and and the turmoil. I mean, if there's one thing they should never mess with, it's the Big Show. I mean,
yeah, they always mess with talent though, and what ends up happening is you have some control when your show is number one and it's getting a 22 share or whatever.
Yeah, and
you're able to push back on all of that stuff. And when you have some difficulty and the ratings start going down a little bit, and they're going to eventually over time. I mean, was anybody better than Howard Stern on radio? Mm. And he's gone from having 10 million people listen to him to about 100,000 on Sirius now. So it happens to everybody. But then when that happens, they treat you differently, Mikey, because now they've got a little bit more control, a lot more power over you.
Right.
But I found a way of dealing with all the PDs that I dealt with. I thought I was respectful. I was certainly going to give them my opinion and how I wanted to do stuff. But, as PD and general manager, they're bosses. And in the end, they're going to have the final say.
Yeah, even if they're
And
stupid.
especially when you don't have the power.
Even if they're completely moronic when it comes to making decisions. And in the case of, like, I loved Jason and Julie. That whole era was great, and they were treated me very well. But then when they got into, this Kevin Graham, I thought, we have this pussy for a program director, and he's a fucking pussy. And he won't even deal with you as a one-to-one person. So I was like, it wasn't going to go well from there. And indeed,
Well,
it didn't.
His biggest problem was he was an out-of-towner. And so you come into Boston, and if you don't understand where all the bodies are buried and where everything is happening in the city of Boston.
Sure.
Because it's very parochial. It's a very closed market.
Yes. And you can't
think
be a
you can
pussy.
do the same stuff you did outside. I thought the biggest mistake, well, there are a bunch of mistakes that company made. But this is very interesting. When I got fired in 2000 and was it 13 or 14?
13. Yeah.
I did a few television shows on what was it Fox Sports at the time, whatever. It's NBC Sports Boston now. It might have been Comcast at the time. I did a few shows with Michael Felger, and they wanted to put the two of us together to talk about radio or whatever. And Felger was brilliant in coming up with what he heard as a listener listening to WEEI. And it was beyond us being on AM and them going on FM, which he conceded that obviously it was a huge factor. But the other factor I never thought about was he said the ESPN influence into management.
Oh.
And at management, and Mikey, if you look back at it, he was correct. We toned everything down. So now we're going from AM to FM. And instead of ratcheting it up because you're dealing with a younger audience,
Right.
a hipper, more sophisticated audience where you can kind of play around and you can get away with a little bit more, our management did just the opposite. They reeled it all in, and we became cookie cutter ESPN radio.
Because the management were pussies.
That's it. And they were, and right back to the CEO who loved ESPN. I can't tell you how many times I had meetings over the years, dinners. I was flown to Philadelphia to watch a hockey game one night with David Field, the CEO.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how much he just would wet his pants getting excited about ESPN.
Wow.
He just loved it.
It was
And
a
I think
sickness.
it became an influence, but Felger was the one that really tipped me off with that. And he was 100%
Well,
correct.
and you broke so many careers. Felger started, he got his first experience in sports talk radio with you, as so many Felger, Maz. We're talking about.
I just had lunch with Tony a couple of weeks ago out here in Arizona.
Did you?
I got together with Tony.
And how's Tony doing? His voice hasn't gotten any lower. But there were a whole bunch of guys that you paraded through that afternoon big show that went on to really to take over the Sports Hub 98.5, because their whole cast basically came from WEEI. Hey,
Zolak was part of our crew as well.
You went to the. I'm sure you're sad to hear that one of your fellow alumni from the American Academy of Dramatic Arts passed away today. Robert Redford.
Robert Redford, yes.
Now, people always mistook you for Robert Redford when you go out in public. They thought, well, isn't that Bob Redford?
Wait, hold on. When he was younger, at his older age, he got some wrinkles.
He got craggy
as time
went on. He got craggy with it.
But he was great actor.
Tremendous actor.
You look back at his work, it's like pretty impressive.
Do you have a favorite Redford movie? Because I have. I mean, there's
Butch
a list.
Cassidy.
Yeah. But he was in All the President's Men.
You like The Natural because you like those.
I loved The
movies,
Natural.
Right?
Yes,
Yeah,
it
yeah,
just
the
tweaked all
music
my
and
baseball heartstrings.
Yeah.
No question about it. But he was also great in Jeremiah Johnson. Was tremendous. I thought.
Very good.
From 69 to 85, or 84 when The Natural came out, he had a run that was golden. And he's 89 years old. It's hard to believe, 89. And Clint Eastwood is still kicking around. What's he, 93?
Yeah.
These guys got the life going.
Isn't it amazing? I mean, it really is. And Redford has been pretty active right up until the last year or two, right?
Yeah.
Been very active.
I never believed he was banging Barbra Streisand in the way we were, though. I mean, there's no chance. He knew
that wasn't you didn't list that as one of Redford's great movies.
He knew he could do so much better. Yeah, so he's an alumni of the. Now you went to become an actor. You went to school for a while. You went to become an actor. Then you embarked in your radio career, the long and illustrious radio career, and you covered every single team. And I got to ask you, because I have this GOAT thing. I have it right here in my hand. I say you're the GOAT of broadcast radio sports, but who was the GOAT? Let's start one team at a time. Who's the Red Sox all-time GOAT?
I would say if we're talking about the popularity of the team, and I know people will say, well, Ted Williams was the greatest hitter ever. Yeah, but David Ortiz did more, I think, to make that team popular than anybody else. I'm not saying that, Pedro wasn't part of it and there were others weren't part of it and Clemens before that. But I don't think you can top David Ortiz. And maybe it was the period in which he played. But as far as the popularity of the Red Sox becoming as big as they became, it was him. I mean, I saw Ted Williams. I was a young little kid when my father would take me to the games. And Mikey, we're lucky if there were 10,000 people.
But does that not make him
people at Fenway Park to watch Ted Williams?
Isn't he still the GOAT, though, when you look at the all-time leader in on-base percentage, 500 home runs? He fought in 2 world wars and missed career years, five career years.
Yeah, and I think the numbers would have been even greater. And he played on bad teams.
Awful teams.
I mean, those 50s. Were really bad teams.
Those 50s. Don Budden, we had all the guys in the 50s, they sucked. And so he wasn't, and plus he didn't have many opportunities to do the postseason like Poppy had a lot of postseason games. Back in the day when Ted Williams played, you got one shot. It was the World Series. I had Don Budden on a show many, many years ago. You did?
As a guest.
You're the only guy.
He was managing a liquor store at the time. He was actually taking orders. Yeah. I'll take the vodka on the top shelf.
Don Budden. Oh, yeah. God. All right, now let's switch to basketball. I know that was close to your heart. You did the Celtics for so many years with Johnny Most. You knew all the Celtics really well. They're friends of yours and so on. Who is the GOAT in Celtics history?
See, now you're putting me on the spot. So based on my experience and the time I was there, I would go with Bird, but I can't because I look at the accomplishments of Bill Russell through the 50s and the 60s. Yeah. Russell's got to be number one. He's got to be the GOAT. Unfortunately, again, Mikey, the Bruins were fighting it out with the Rangers in the old 16 National Hockey League basement. That's what they were fighting for, to get into 5th place.
Right.
And the Celtics, meanwhile, were winning world championship after world championship. But the Bruins had the big crowds, and the Celtics didn't. And I remember as a young kid going to Celtics games when they had the old double headers, and you'd see like Wilt Chamberlain playing in the first game, and then you'd see the Celtics playing the Knicks or whomever in the second game.
Basketball doubleheader.
But the place was mostly doubleheaders. Yeah. They used to play doubleheaders.
That's
and
incredible.
It would be like the Warriors and the Pistons in the first game, and that would start at like 5 o'clock or something like that.
Yeah.
And then at 7:30, it would be the Celtics and the Knicks. It was unbelievable.
Well, you got all these other guys too lined up over the course of the Celtics history. The names like Kuzi and Hondo. And
they had so many great. So many great players on that franchise.
Unbelievable.
There's so many great players.
That was going to be the hardest GOAT question I gave you.
The Patriots, easy.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, we know about that. Hey, and
John Hannah.
They're going to
John Hannah.
not Tom Brady. John Hannah crashed into John Hannah.
Tom Brady. You mean the Raiders coach?
Yeah,
right. Sitting up in the.
Do you remember when we were out in front of we were parked in the van? You were doing shows from out near Foxborough there, and all of a sudden someone crashed. It was you, me, Smurless, and all of a sudden, boom! Somebody hit the trailer while we were on the air, and in walks John Hannah. He hit it with his truck. Do you remember that? That was the weirdest thing. He smashed into the truck we were broadcasting from. And of course, John Hannah, what are you going to say to the guy? He's a nut. He's like,
well, he needed a parking space, and the truck was taking up a little.
He made one, so he
needed to get there. Oh, crazy!
Yeah.
I got some unbelievable stories with him, but he was crazy. But obviously, it's Tom Brady. We know it's.
Yeah. Well,
it's
he
Tom Brady.
didn't do much really, Brady, that much. I tell you, the first time I ever talked to Brady in person was at Smithfield, Rhode Island, and they used to train down there right at Bryant College.
Bryant College those days?
Yeah. So I go down there. They had just won his first Super Bowl that he won, and I go down there, and they had a camera crew, whatever, and it's like, okay, talk to Brady, and we're waiting. They're gathering. It was very informal, waiting for the crews to get their tripods all set up, and Tom's like 5 feet away. So I go, so Tom, how was your summer? He said, well, I got invited to a lot more proms this year. I mean, and he boiled it down. You were, did you go to Fenway Park in the mid 60s? Like 64?
So I think the first time I went, I was probably 5 or 6 years old. So it would be the late 50s or maybe 60 or 61 because I did see Ted Williams play a couple times, but it was the end of his career.
Yeah, at the end. Well, that would be right age wise for you. But I was there. My first game was in '64.
So the first tickets I got for to go to Fenway Park. My father used to be a milkman. Remember when they used to deliver milk to your house?
Yeah.
And
that's why I was born.
One of his house, one of his customers was Johnny Pesky.
Yeah.
And so Johnny Pesky used to give my father tickets to go to the Red Sox game, and he used to take me.
Nice.
So, and I obviously, passed that story along to Johnny Pesky later on when I got to know Johnny really well.
Yeah.
And of course, he loved that story, obviously.
Yeah, he was a beautiful, beautiful man, Johnny Pesky.
Great guy. Great guy.
My first game was in '64, and I remember this because this came up as a very random and odd baseball Red Sox oddity when they brought in a pitcher a few days ago, a guy by the name of Connolly Early. Now,
I remember.
In '64, the Red Sox had two shitty left-handers. One was Ed Connolly, and the other one was Arnold Early. So Connolly Early, I thought, well, it reminds me of 1964.
Do you think they're all related? Is that what you're telling me?
I don't know, but I know that Connolly Early, when they in '64, they couldn't get it done. They sucked, and it was fun to watch the Red Sox because they all sucked. But Arnold Early was a left-handed pitcher for the Red Sox in '64, and he was 3-1. Everybody said, "Oh, we got a left-hander that can actually pitch." He's 3-1. He's on the mound. Russ Nixon was the catcher, and he made a pitch that they both thought was a strike, and the umpire said it was a ball. So Nixon's talking to the umpire saying, "Oh, that was a strike," and he throws the ball back while Arnold Early is walking away up the mound, and the ball hits him in his pitching elbow. This is the throw from the catcher back to the pitcher, hits him in his pitching arm, and he goes on the DL. The only good Red Sox pitcher they ever had, left-handed, was Arnold Early, and he got hit by Nixon throwing back the ball to him and didn't even see it. So,
well, if you remember '64,
they sucked.
Now we're talking real old school shit.
Yeah.
Their starting pitching sucked. The '64 and '65, you went to Fenway Park so that you could see the monster come into the game. And
exactly.
Dick Radich was the closer.
Yeah.
And there were times that the monster came into the game in like the 5th or 6th inning.
Sure.
And not for an inning or two. He would finish up the game.
Your
closer would
twice he went 9 innings, Big O. Twice.
I know.
So, and he come in, and the Red Sox that year won 72 games, and Monster had 29 saves and 16 wins. So without him, they were shit. But
you and I got to know him very, very well. And just to know that guy and to have our early memories, childhood memories of going to Fenway Park. And the reason we wanted to be there is we wanted to see the monster.
He was a big man.
Okay.
I said,
and then get to know him was I think some of the great things in life happen that way, where you grow up and you think of something and then you end up, working with that person.
I worked with him on the Mike and the Monster show on EEI on Sunday mornings. And one day I asked him on the air, I said, so what was the most beers you ever had, when you were on the Red Sox? He says, 24, a whole case. He goes, but my teammates told me I had 30 one night. His teammates had to tell him about that.
With him, Mikey, a lot of people are doing podcasts where they do a regular show and then they do a podcast off the air. And so off the air, we can drop, the F word and bullshit, and we can say whatever we want. Imagine if we did that with the Big Show and we had a separate off-the-air show for Raditz for every one of the commercial breaks.
Oh, God.
So we took every commercial break
Yes.
of that show.
It'd be number
And
one.
we had a separate show, and then we aired it at 6:00 at night. I am telling you, it would have been the most popular show
It would be.
in Boston by far.
Because his
By
off-the-air
far.
stuff was classic, as was Pete Shepard. By the way, I'm wearing my Pete Shepard Captain Morgan shirt. Pete's off-the-air
nice.
stuff was better than his on-the-air stuff, too.
Yeah, Pete had a lot of good off-the-air stuff, but again, you can get away with a lot of that stuff now. The stuff that was off the air before can now go on the air thanks to, digital, technology. Now we can do it.
I know baseball, because I've loved baseball for so long, but it's completely changed sport. Now, never mind the rule changes, Big O, but I did
For the better or the worse?
Well, I was really curious. Oh, first of all, the Red Sox themselves as a team and the entire major leagues, they don't know the strike zone anymore. The strikeouts and the home runs are like they're always thinking about the long ball, so the strikeout numbers are way up, and I don't like that very much. But
the approach has changed.
the interesting thing is that if you look at the rosters, and I did this, there are 30 teams, and there are 25 guys per team. That's 750 major leaguers. There are 82 players from Venezuela. 82. No, that's the Dominican. 51 from Venezuela. There's a grand total of 23% of the people in the major leagues now are from Latin countries. Now, nothing wrong with that, except that because they're good baseball players, they have an advantage when it comes to climate. A lot of great players come from there, and I don't have a problem with that. What I have a problem with is keeping them all straight in my head, the names. There's so many people named Gonzalez and Ramos and, Martina. I don't know who's who.
Smith and Jones and
yes,
Johnson.
Right.
It hasn't changed. Well, you know why that's changed, though, Mikey, is because in baseball, if you got out of high school and then got drafted by a Major League Baseball team, it could be 5 or 6 years before you make something more than $15,000 a year, because that's what they were paying in the minor leagues.
Yeah.
And so the great athletes in high school who were playing multiple sports, let's say they were playing baseball, basketball, and football, the great athletes said, I'm going to basketball or I'm going to football.
Right.
And I'm going to college for a couple of years to do that, because one, it'll be free. And second of all, I'll make millions of dollars very quickly.
Yeah.
You can't do that in baseball. And so what happens is, the Dominican became, the farm for Major League Baseball, because kids love playing baseball there and in Mexico and throughout Central America. And they were coming from very poor backgrounds. And so to get into the minor leagues and make $15,000 a year with the promise that maybe if I really work at it, 5 years from now, I can be making millions.
Right.
And so that's why I think you had that shift that went on. And I know some people, they were making, they were trying to make something out of the low numbers of black players now in Major League Baseball.
That's right.
Versus where we were 20 or 30 years ago. I think the same thing plays into it right now. That those great athletes of 20 and 30 years ago that went to baseball, because the money was pretty similar with baseball, with basketball, and with football. Once that all changed, these kids were coming from absolutely nothing, and I can't blame them. Why play baseball when I could blow my arm out?
Yeah, and the climate.
In a year or two and get no money. I can go play basketball, play football, and I'm really good at it, and I can make an awful lot of money right away. And I think that's why you've seen the cultural change here in the makeup of these sports leagues.
It's just confusing.
And it's amazing because people always try to look at it like, well, maybe they're not allowing, enough, many blacks to play the game. And I said,
no,
that was back in the 30s and 40s. What are you talking about?
Late 47.
We're well beyond that now.
And also, the attention to the sport, the money that's available to them, and where you come from in Connecticut and North, there's no New England players in the major leagues. They're all from Texas and Florida and California and Latin countries.
Well, Mikey, look at white Americans in the NBA. There aren't that many of them, but there are a lot of white players in the NBA, but they all come from other countries.
Europe, yeah.
Right. Why? Well, because basketball, and I was part of that early on in '86, we went to Madrid, Spain, and they conducted clinics over there. And Celtics were playing foreign teams from Yugoslavia and from Italy. And so I saw all of that in its beginning. And so those people learned to play the game of basketball. Those kids really worked at it. Again, they came from absolutely nothing, and they ended up making it. And now they control the NBA. You're seeing all of these, white players from Europe now that are the Joker's the best player in the planet right now.
I know.
And yet American kids for the last 20 years, what have they been doing? Playing video games.
Now, let me ask you about the real quick about the Patriots, because they've gone 2 games and they won the second game, through some miracle. How about the back-to-back touchdown runs from on the punt and on the kickoff? That was ridiculous. But how do you think they're going to do? What's with Gonzalez? Why can't he come back into the? He's been hurt he got hurt first day at camp, didn't he?
28th of July, the last time he's been on the field.
I mean, what's up with that?
I don't know. Hamstring that won't go away? I don't know. I think hamstring is an important part of your body when you're playing that position. Okay, you're backtracking, you're shifting. So I don't know. You're right.
Seems like a long time.
To be a really long period of time.
Yeah.
I was amused, and I did listen to a little bit of sports talk radio yesterday to find out what the reaction was by the fans. And the fans were not as giddy or happy as I thought they would be, even though they won that football game. And I must tell you, when people start talking about winning 9 or 10 games, I think that's irrelevant for that team this year. I don't think the win-loss record is going to tell you anything and translate anything into the rebuilding in the future of this team. The one thing I got out of the game on Sunday, because I think both teams sucked. Both teams made a lot of mistakes.
But they never beat the Dolphins anyway. Down
the
there.
Patriots gave up, big plays again, which they gave up to the Raiders the week before. And if you watch last night's game, the Raiders suck too. Okay, we're finding that out.
Right.
The most important aspect of that game was your quarterback made a huge leap here. Your quarterback looked like a legitimate NFL quarterback. That's really what the season is about.
And that's really what the future is about.
If you're going to be any good down the line in the National Football League, you must have a fairly elite, certainly a franchise quarterback.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen any of that with maybe a tease-us a couple times last year from Drake May. And maybe a lot of it wasn't his fault. Didn't have protection up front in the offensive line. Certainly didn't have the specialty weapons. I saw him play a pretty damn good game against, some bad circumstances where a lot of his teammates did not play well, certainly didn't get help with his special teams.
No.
And yet I was impressed with him. So to me, I don't know how many games they're going to win. They might win 4 again, Mikey.
No. I think they'll win 6.
They're thin. They have no depth. They lose a few of these players, and they're going to be toast in some of these games against even teams, and their schedule is easy. But they're going to be toast against some of these teams. To me, the key to this season is, at the end of the year, are we talking about Drake May as a legitimate quarterback in this league?
Yeah.
If that's the case, they're in good shape.
Now, if he could continue to develop and they get used to playing with him.
That's all that matters right now.
Maybe they'll get 8 wins. Maybe.
How many of these guys are going to be on the team 2 or 3 years from now? That are on the team right now?
How many were on the team last year?
We don't even know if their left tackle, if Campbell is going to be on the team, or is he going to be playing a different position?
Right.
We don't know any of that stuff yet.
Well, I think they got 2 players on the team now who were there 2 years ago. I mean, right? They only have 2 guys left.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Well, Big O, I got a joke for you because I like jokes. I've been a joker, smoker.
Many years.
Midnight
do you
toker.
do this when you're driving people around in Uber? Hey,
yes.
I got a joke for you.
I tried this. I tried this on one lady the other day. I said, "Do you know what the difference is between a pickpocket and a peeping Tom?" And she said, "No." I said, "Well, one snatches watches." Sorry.
How much you get tipped on that, right?
Well, you know what's funny? The tips. I don't even do it. I tell people I don't do this for the money, but I should never say that up front because then they don't tip. I don't do it.
Why would you ever say that?
I don't, because I don't do it for the money.
No,
I do it.
you should do just the opposite. What you should say
I'm
is,
not
hey,
greedy.
look, no, you should sit there and say, listen, I'm on hard times.
Yeah.
I really need some assistance.
Right.
I worked, I don't know if you remember it. It's an ancient and now defunct business. It was called radio. I worked in radio. So I didn't make anything. I need help.
Right.
And then they feel bad for you, Mike.
Well, except that, again, I don't do it for the money. I'm an independently wealthy
I do know
person.
That.
I really
do know that.
Ansel Adams. I have a. I don't have any more jokes for you, which is unfortunate because I ran out.
Yeah, but you'll never run out of coffee cakes. Look at it that way.
I'm going to send you two for being so good technically on this show. You got us going. You got us going.
Some people will.
But the thing is, with the Uber driving, I do it because I like people and because I get bored shitless sitting at home doing nothing. My wife's working, my kids are in school, so I got to do something. It's not about the money.
Yeah.
It really isn't. I do occasionally say to one of the passengers, I'll say, do you mind showing me your boobs? It's usually the guys. No.
And they'll give you $2. What did you get out of it? Nothing, right? I understand. I understand the feeling. I've been getting bored as well, but of course I broke my hand falling off a ladder, and I shouldn't be doing stuff like that. When you get older, you kind of lose balance.
You're still using a ladder at the refrigerator?
Yeah, well, that's a good one. Actually, it was. I'm even more embarrassed. It was one of those tall step stools. When I say tall,
right.
It was like 5 steps. It was like a little beyond what tall people need.
The dangerous type. Yeah. Big O, we miss you up here in Boston. We love you, and you're in the Hall of Fame. You've done everything you could possibly do. We're so glad you could join us for the podcast and help us out technically to get it on the air from
It's always great talking to you, Mikey. You know that.
Palatial studio.
Been one of my favorites. I would love to get you and Mutt together though someday. We can't do that.
That would be a bloodbath. Mutt's the only guy I ever worked with who had absolutely no redeeming value to the program whatsoever. Backstabbing weasel. Talk about pussies.
Sorry I brought it up. I apologize. See, bringing it up. God.
When I come to Arizona.
Mikey, there's got to be more love in the world.
Well, just
more love in the world.
Just not
hatred, but love.
It's just not from that chimp Mutt. Nice talking to you, Big O.
Great talking to you, Mikey.
My best to you and your family.
Always the best.
And
you too.
We're going to leave with a song, as we always do, which is we do a little Joe and Jerry at the end of each show, so you can stick around and listen to that otherwise. But thank you, Big O. This is something for our Spanish-speaking audience. A little tribute to the chairman of the board, Frank Sinatra. You ready, Troop?
I'm ready, Joe.
Tall and tan and young and ugly, the girl who has a penis goes walking, and when she passes, each one she passes goes, ooh. When she walks, she's like a mamba that swings her tool and farts so gently that when she passes gas and goes, ah.
Oh, Joe, but her ass is so smelly. How can he tell her that he loves her, Joe? Yeah, he could maybe help shave her belly.
But each day when she walks to the sea, she never forgets to go pee.
Small and fat and hung and ugly, the girl who has a penis goes walking, and when she passes, she farts, but she doesn't pee. She just doesn't pee.
She never goes pee. Thanks for listening, everybody. Good night.